Welcome to the foundation.
All right, y'all. This is the foundation. And as you can see, there are many of us today in studio. This is going to be an ongoing conversation brought to you by Foundational Black Men. In the room, we'll go ahead and start from right to left. We have Roderick, the Rod. Next to him, we have Andre, the designer. To our left, we have Samuel, the poet. Then we have Guylan, the educator. And then last, and certainly not least, we have myself, Marwan, the professor. Thank you for joining us in this big first episode. We have another show that you probably have seen with several of us having a conversation. This will be our official launch, and we're going to get into what we're about, what we are trying to do, etc., etc. So we're going to go around the room, and I'm going to let everyone kind of talk, but I'm going to field the question to give us something to build on. What I will say is this. In this town, we are creating the League of Black Male Voters. And the League has already done several things this year in the advocacy of Black male interests, and we will continue to do so. And in that, there are two things. One, we identify ourselves as foundational Black Americans, and we are putting our interests first and foremost, not the interest of our community or our women, other groups, or the country at large. Historically, that has not happened. And when we look at the Republican and the Democratic Party, we don't see that articulated either. So if you look back and you see what the different candidates are advocating for, both from the presidential level on down to the local level, very rarely do they acknowledge things that address our specific needs. Now, there are many things that are addressed that will help us also, right? Maybe housing or whatnot. But we need to make our voices heard and our needs heard. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to advocate for it. I have a saying that I share with everyone all the time: power is taken, it is not given. And this is one of the ways that we will take power. The other tenet is we are all Christian men, right? And so as we go forward and we do our advocacy and we advocate for what we believe is important and the things that we want, those will be the two things that you'll see as a throughput in our conversation. All right. So let's go around the room, and I just want everyone to introduce themselves and just say what's on your mind. I'll go first. I am Marwan Cameron. I'm a foundational Black American. I'm a foundational Black man here in America. Uh, and I have gotten to a point in my life where I can no longer sit back and allow things to happen, hope things will happen, complain about things happening, that I need to make my voice heard. I had a recent post where I said, do not afraid to lose the battle uh, with fear of, oh, that's not how it went. It went along the lines of, do not be afraid to lose now. And many folks would like you to not fight at all and to not look at the battle at the end. So we're trying to win the whole war, and we will lose fights as we go along. But there are a lot of people that are fearful of even starting to fight. All right, let's go on over to Rod. Go ahead and introduce yourself there, sir.
I'm Roderick, another foundational Black man in America, and I have taken this responsibility to immerse myself in the wisdom and the knowledge of my fellow brothers here, because you can navigate this world by yourself, but you can't live in it without the help of others. So I am here to not only gain wisdom, but to be able to part it to others.
Andre.
And I am Andre, the designer, and I'm also a foundational black male here in America, and my whole perspective of things is that we need to get back to our spiritual awakening, and I believe that's what is lost. I know for myself that's what was lost, and now that I'm awoke again, it feels great.
All right. And next we have Brother
Samuel,
Samuel.
Samuel the Poor, I'm a foundational black male here in this country, and I'm going to do whatever it takes, morning, noon, and night, to ensure that black men, black males, um, are equipped with the knowledge needed to understand who they are and where they are headed.
Garland.
I'm Garland, the educator, and I'm also a foundational black male in America. And we're here together to pick up the fight once again that has been dropped for so long.
All right. I appreciate that, gentlemen. I'm going to just circle back to Rod again. And we all have our nicknames up here. How did you get your name? You're the Rod.
It's just a short version of my whole name. Nothing special about it. I am a sponge right now. I'm going to learn. I'm going to absorb. So I'll earn my nickname as we go along. But in the meanwhile, I'm just going to grab some of this wisdom from my brothers.
All right. I like it. Andre?
Designer is through a clothing line that will be out soon, that you all will enjoy and love.
All right. And Samuel?
Yes, I'm a poet. I do gospel poetry. I have a book on Amazon called Poems to Heal the Heart and Quiet the Mind. I hope these poems speak to the individual person. These poems have come through me, but not from me.
I like that. Garland?
I'm the educator. Uh, my goal is to just basically help educate people about God's word and where we come from, and hopefully a positive path forward. But I also hope to be educated by my brothers as well.
All right. And then last but not least is myself. I am the professor. As many of you know, I taught at the local college here, and I believe that I continue to teach in all things, even sometimes to a fault, as I am often always in teacher mode. But I'm a lifelong learner, and I do strive and endeavor to pass on what I learned to others. Keeping information and knowledge is criminal. All right. So let's go ahead and get into our tenets here. We're just going to go through and just talk about what the League of Black Male Voters is about. Number one here, creating the League of Black Male Voters. Our organization aims to establish a new century-old tradition by building a league of Black male voters, similar to the well-established League of Women Voters. As you know, the League of Women Voters is over 100 years old. They are quite powerful and influential in what they do. And we aim to do the same from a foundational Black male perspective. Now, that doesn't mean that other Black folks can't be a part, women can't be a part, other races and other folks can't be a part of this. But foundationally, this is what it is at its core, right? One of the big things we're going to be doing, and we've been doing it, is engaging in political discourse. We're going to be getting people to register to vote and actively participate in the democratic process. The second thing that we're going to be doing is, let me go ahead and just change this here. We're going to be identifying and supporting candidates with Black male voter interest. Okay. Too long has the Democratic Party, in particular, because as a voting bloc, we vote Democratic at about 90%. The Democratic Party tells us who they are going to push forward for us, right? We are not telling them who we want as candidates. And they tell us things like, well, you know what? Maybe it's not their time. Maybe they're not strong candidates. They won't have enough folks that will vote for them. And instead, we are given the Black men and women that they believe are viable or willing to carry their water and their interest. We see this not only nationally, but we have this going on currently here in Kitsap County with the new commissioner, with someone running for commissioner right now. All right. Also, and we're going to prioritize, as I said before, the interest of foundational Black Americans, our foundational Black males. Number 3, we're going to educate and activate our community. Our initiatives are focused on educating individuals and communities about the importance of political engagement and voting. We will work from people from moving people from a state of apathy to one of active involvement in civic life. We've already done this here in some of our conversations in just the 5 of us. Many of us weren't aware of a lot of things that were going on just in our own community. And so again, knowledge and information it's a crime to keep those things to yourself. And if we want to move people past apathy and get them to take action, they have to know what they're taking action for. They also have to believe that there is an opportunity for them to change and to fix that situation, right? And so we want to ensure that everyone, regardless of background, understands their rights and responsibilities in the democratic process. Number 4, raising the awareness of Black male issues. We will undertake the efforts to educate the broader community, not just ourselves, including policymakers. We'll be using the media about issues that, again, face foundational Black Americans and Black folks here in this country. We're going to highlight those concerns. And we do seek to create a more inclusive and equitable society. And historically, we have been left out from that. I've got 2 more I'm going to read, and then I'm going to ask the gentleman in here just to kind of reflect on these, okay? Whichever one is kind of in your mind as I'm talking about it. Number 5, interviewing and engaging local candidates. We did that earlier this year. We conduct interviews with candidates running for local elections, providing a platform for them to discuss their policies and priorities as they relate to the needs of us, the Black male voter. And this will help us to inform our community and encourage meaningful dialogue between candidates and voters. Now, to that end, when we did our panel interview at the Norm Dix building, we had Greg Nance and Bryn Felix and the dentist. I can never remember his name. I apologize for that, good doctor. And they are running for their seat. And one of the questions that I asked them was, in all the debates that they've had, League of Women Voters and other folks that they've gone on and had these one-on-ones or panels, how many have asked them about reparations for Black Americans? And they all answered none. That's why we're so important, right? So people will clap their hands and big us up and tell us, yeah, we care about Black issues. But then when you get down to it, our issues aren't even being talked about. And so that's why it's imperative and paramount that we do that. And we can't expect other people to do it for us. And the last one, empowering Black men and allies. Our organization aims to empower Black men and their allies to find their voices and advocate for the interests within the political landscape by providing training and support. We enable individuals to take on leadership roles and contribute to meaningful change. So one of the things we'd like to see, let's say here in the city of Bremerton, there are 7 districts, right? We would like to see a foundational Black American or someone that exercises our interest run in every single district. That's what we want to see. I ran for city council last year. I believe I was the only Black man to run for city council or Black woman to run for city council in any district last year. This we want to change, right? This is not a secret. I didn't know anything about it. I decided to do it late. And people think, man, I don't belong there. I'm going to start with Andre because there was a conversation that he and I had about, even feeling like we belong or have the knowledge base and are qualified to run for city council. Just talk about that conversation and reflect on any of the six that we were talking about there.
Yeah, so it was brought to me by the professor, and instantly I was like, I'm not ready. I don't have any knowledge of it or anything like that, you know. But then as our conversation went on, it was brought to me, okay, well, that's understandable, but you're a person just like those ones who are running. You're no different than them. They have an agenda, so does you, so do you. And yours is for just like what theirs for. Theirs for the people, their people, are yours is too. So why can't you do it? And so now I'm like, okay, okay, put me in position. Put me in position. And yes, I will be that. I'll be that guy. I'll be that guy because there's not enough of us. And for me, when I see somebody that's doing the same as me, then that's just encouraging me and uplifting me to know that, all right, they can do it, you can do it as well. So I want to be that person. I want to be that voice, you know, like it says in the word, faith without works is dead.
Ooh, he brought it back to the book. There you go.
I have that faith, but I got to also put in work, and I'm willing to put in work.
All right.
I got these brothers around me that will help me. So,
all right, let's build on that. Samuel, you're listening to the designer. What are your thoughts on what he's saying and being empowered and not thinking that he could even see himself in that position until he and I had a conversation?
I agree with the designer, and it's an amazing bullet statement you made. I'm going to take empowering Black men and allies, along with activating the community. And as the designer was talking, a community of a group of people living in the same place or having particular characteristics in common. I think as African American men, foundational Black males who have come to this country and have been here, we've kind of lost what it means or who we really are. So if we don't have that, then we don't have a community. So we have to have strength in numbers, empowering each other, and understanding the community and making a community.
All right, Galen, build on what the designer and the poet were talking about there.
I agree with the designer and the poet also. It's good that we can, because it's a big need for us to empower one another. By empowering and encouraging each other, then there's nothing that we can't do. So we really need to encourage and just stand by each other. And I think we'll be successful.
All right, I like that. And the rod.
I think for me, I really resonate with the educating and activating the community. I feel that for so long, our communities have been complacent and have resigned to the fact that it is what it is and we just have to go with it. And that's the problem. We need to affect our own changes. We can't just sit and let the world decide how we want things to be. We have to make decisions for our community, for our people, and it's time to educate them. Let them know that forget what you think, your vote counts. Closed mouth don't get fed. So You got to get out there. You got to make the noise in your community. You have to choose the leaders who have your best interest. You have to do these things and not just sit back and accept the norm and just go with the flow. No, it's time that our community start making noise again.
All right, I appreciate that. All right, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just kind of go over our goals. I'm going to do them one at a time, so I'm just not talking for a long period of time. And I just want to get your thoughts, gentlemen, on, do you think that these goals are too lofty? Do we need to modify them, or do we need to add anything to them? We'll take the goals one at a time, and then we'll add new goals as we go. So the first goal is, our mission is to identify, encourage, and wholeheartedly support a Black male candidate or an ally strongly aligned with our interests to represent District 7, which I think is coming up next, ensuring our voices are heard and our needs are addressed. Thoughts on that? We'll start with Gylan, the educator.
Nope, it's a good goal. I think we might need to add in just to make sure their morals line up with ours.
Okay, so our mission is to identify, encourage, and wholeheartedly support candidates or allies that are strongly aligned with our interest, morals. Anything else?
Let's see, morals and values, and no, I think
Values. Okay. And I'm gonna type all that in bold so we can see the changes in real time.
Yeah.
And why we're doing this live,
say
so everyone spiritually,
yeah,
so everyone can see, is that this is a collective effort. This isn't Marwan. This is the foundational Black males doing this together. Spiritual. All right. All right. The poet. What do you think about goal number 1?
I think it's along with what the educator said. I think the moral values and the spiritual values are necessary when you identify, encourage, or wholeheartedly support a Black male candidate or strongly align with our interest.
All right. And if we're in agreement, we don't have to, tarry over it. The Rod.
I definitely agree with that. I think everything starts with the spiritual and moral values because every candidate says what we want to hear, but we want to feel the backing behind it, the spiritual, the morality. We want to feel that. So if we're going to support Black candidates, it can't be just because they're Black. They have to have those morals. They have to have those values and have the community in mind. I mean, stop saying what we want to hear and say what you can actually do.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, well, I agree with everyone as well. And especially what Rob said, that not only have the spiritual values, but show the spiritual values. As I spoke before, faith without works is dead. So, yes, you can have these great intentions and say these great things, but are you doing it? Are you out there feeding the homeless? It only take a little bit. Are you out there contributing your time to show that you have the best interests of us?
All right. All right. Goal number 2. By the end of this year, we are aiming to boost the numbers of Black male registered voters by 5% and amplify our presence and influence in the electoral process. I don't know if 5% is too high. There's so much apathy. There's so many of us that are unregistered for a variety of reasons. Either we believe that our vote doesn't count. Some of us may be more conservative in nature, but we live in a blue district, or vice versa. We're more progressive or liberal, but we live in a more conservative district. So there's no point that we believe. We have been burnt before. We voted for people over and over again, and they never carry our interest. So there's a whole host of different things. So my question, and I'm going to we'll go backwards and we'll start with the Rod, and then go from there. Is, do you think 5% sounds about right? Should we try to increase that, or what you thinking there?
I'm thinking 5% is a good starting point. I believe that in order to even think about increasing that percentage, we have to start educating people on the voting process and what voting does, what voting means. I think a lot of people think it means I'm one person out of a million. What does that matter? And I think we just need to show people that by voting, you are saying, I want this change, instead of being in your living room saying, I wish something changes, but then you never take a step towards making a change or voicing that need. So I think educating our people about voting, letting them know that voting is always good and that your vote always counts. I think it would start with there, but I think 5% would be a good percentage to start at.
All right. So as we go to the designer, one thing that hit me is people need to remember that in the state of Washington, if you are convicted of a felony, once you are released, you can actually vote. It's very easy to do. I've done several podcasts on that. We will link that in the description to show you how easy it is. All right. So the designer, 5% sound about right. Should we too high, too low? What do you think?
Well, I would say 3 to 5. That's reasonable. Just because we're just starting, and we don't want to put too high of an expectation to where maybe that will discourage us from continuing to get to our goal if we didn't reach it. So, a little bit of leeway, I guess you could say, 3 to 5. But yeah, definitely sounds good to me.
All right. Gylan, the educator, I'm coming to you.
All right.
Okay. Because, discouraged is not in our vocabulary. You know what I'm saying? We're Foundation of Black America.
Absolutely.
We're FBAs. We are not discouraged, right? We may lose, but that we will persist, right? What's your thoughts? That sound about right? 3 to 5%. I like how the designer gave us a range to shoot for.
Yeah.
Making sure we're realistic.
Yeah. And that's a good range. Especially for the amount of Black males that are in Bremerton. Because that's going to actually include, as we educate people, we can also reach out to the military, even though they're only here to 3 to 4 years. But I think the military would be a good group to get to.
All right. The poet, 3 to 5% sound pretty good. Too high, too low? Anything you want to add to the goal there?
No, like the designer said, we're coming close to the end of the year. So I believe putting some hard work out there, even if we didn't get but 2%, just putting the work out there and keeping in contact with people. We're just not doing this for like this year and a one and done. It's going to take a lot of hitting the pavement, ground pounding, moving the needle, and educating people on voting, not just 3 to 5% votes, but do you really understand the actual process of voting, and not just seeing the freedom in voting, but being a part of it holistically all the way around. So 3 to 5% would be good, but I think our effort should outman that 3 to 5%.
All right. So we've all weighed in there. Thank you, gentlemen, on that. Goal number 3, And I just need to make an amendment there. Our unwavering commitment is to expand the League of Black Male Voters to 50 steadfast members by the close of 2025 of the next calendar year, fortifying our collective power to advocate for equitable policies and representation. Now, when I got the idea to start the League of Black Male Voters, obviously it was just myself, right? And you see that there are 4 men behind me, so that has increased by 400% so far. But we do want to get those numbers to 50. So let's go backwards, and we'll start with the poet. What do you think? 50? Sound good? In a year, can we get to 50? Gylan is smiling. Gylan, go ahead. You want to jump in first?
No.
Oh man.
It's a good goal. I don't know I don't know what it's gonna be like when we get out there and actually start trying to motivate people. So it's gonna be interesting.
You are the educator. I do not want to change you to the pessimist. But talk about that. Why do you feel that way? Because you're being real.
So there's a video when we started talking about this reminded me of is a young rapper that actually came out with a video about voting. I actually haven't gotten to see the statistics because now I wish I had compared the statistics the year before he voted. I mean, the year before that video came out, because I think he came out with that video during COVID to the next cycle after that. Because it was a very interesting video. He broke down the process and wow. I believe everybody and actually he was on the news. He got on the news with it. But I believe everybody should take a hard look at what he was trying to say about the voting process.
Now, who is this?
Yellow Pain.
Yellow Pain.
Yeah, good video.
Yeah, it was oh man, it was a good video.
It just made sense.
All right, jump in there, poet. I had Gylan cut you off because he started smiling all hard, and I figured he had something that he just needed to get off his chest real quick. So, what's your thoughts? 50 by the end of next year, realistic? Too low, too high?
I think it's kind of low. I think one of the ways we could triple or quadruple those numbers.
Woo! The yin and the yang, the pessimist and the optimist. Boy, change your names.
Well,
go ahead.
If we just adapt some of the tactics that Black Panthers used, if we look back and see how they did it, right now I think a lot of African American men, we all feel outsourced. I think a lot of African American men want to have a voice, especially in their own homes, and even private conversations you have with yourself. I think a lot of males here, we just want to be a part of something that's a lot bigger than us. But if we adopt some tactics and some mindsets of other groups before us, I think we could really see those numbers increase.
Right, man. I really appreciate that. The designer, you got a wry smile on your face, so go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was receiving that. I was receiving that by the poet. You know, I agree with him. It could quadruple to where maybe even 10 times the amount, just for the simple fact, like he stated before, that we have to put in the groundwork. And when we put in the groundwork, we have to, as Rob said, we have to educate these people. We have to educate her. As the educator knows, and as the professor knows, not having that knowledge is a failure.
People perish lack of knowledge.
And yes, people do perish with the lack of knowledge. Absolutely. So as a strong Black men, we are. That's our name. That's my main goal, is to educate. What I receive, I'm giving. Because I didn't have to pay anything except for listening to what was told to me. and receive it and put it in the way that I need to for my life. So I want to do that to the same person. I remember growing up, there's a saying, and please don't take this offensive, Snoop Dogg, but there was a saying, game is to be sold, not to be told. For me, you got to tell that. Like it says, the word, go tell it on the mountain. You got to, I mean, the only way that we're going to receive it is by us giving it. And that's what he says. It's better to give than receive. So that's my thoughts and opinion.
I appreciate that, the designer, and I see in your answers you were weaving Bible in that as you're giving your answers. So just know I see you. You know what I'm saying? All right, the Rod. This is the 2A fanatic over here. What's your thoughts on goal number 3?
I gotta tell you, because y'all jumping all over the educator, I'm gonna get on his side a little bit, be a little pessimistic. Where 50 is a good starting goal, I hear what both my brothers to the left of me are saying as far as let's get that goal quadrupled up there. However, because of the state of the world and the way things are now, I believe it's going to be probably one of our harder goals to accomplish because of the closed mindedness, because of the stubbornness and the uneducation. So, yeah, I would love to see 50 plus, no doubt, because I believe if we get 50, we've done the work.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also kind of cautious about it because we're going to have to really put in work to start changing these closed off minds out in our community.
What I'll do is just closing this statement out is, yeah, I would love to see 50. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to see quadruple. Can you imagine a group of 200 black men here in the county?
Indeed.
That's marching to the same beat? I would love that. But we were having a discussion before we went live here. And one of the things we were talking about is infiltrators, those that would co-opt what it is you're trying to do. And I'd rather have 10 strong than 50 all day long, right? 10 that are about that mission and about what we're trying to do, than to have 100 folks all sitting around trying to jockey for position and power and position, fame, whatever it is that causes our egos to get out of whack. I'd rather remain small and just fight as a small army. We'll operate as the 300, right? If that's what needs to happen. All right. Number 4, through resolute action, we will educate our community through robust strategy of workshops and meetings. I think this kind of goes into how we may do some of that recruitment. Again, first we had a smile from the educator. Now we got a shaking the head. No, I mean the pessimist is in full effect here. So you get to start us off.
So what I mean when I shaking my head, meaning that was actually a good thing, because meaning you don't have, there's nothing else to add to that one.
Okay.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good one. Number 4 is good the way it is.
All right.
We'll probably have to. We can discuss further offline the specifics of how that's going to look, though.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, at the bottom, and you guys can't see this, we're asking the gentleman to think of any goals they want to add. But then the other thing is we will have to brainstorm. How do we go about achieving these goals? How are we going to get to 50?
Yeah.
What will those workshops look like? Right.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right about that. The poet.
Well, I don't think Alan's a pessimist.
That's spoken like a true optimist.
I don't think he is. I do believe having the workshops, having meetings. I know that the professor and the Rod myself and the educator have met consistently, so we can tie in some workshops and have some off hour meetings where people on different schedules can come and see and educate themselves. Real meaningful workshops. I think could do some good. That's my personal opinion.
All right. The Rod?
I think it's fine. Just I'm with Garland on this one. I think it's fine just the way it is. I think it pretty much says exactly what we need to do. That goal is as clear as can be. All of this starts with the education of our people. So I'm good with 4.
All right.
And I'm in agreement as well. I do like what the poet was saying, is that we should definitely make sure that the workshops are received well by those who are coming, and the meetings. And like you were saying, these 4 gentlemen, I just came in, and I'm grateful to be here and to receive the wisdom and the knowledge that you gentlemen have. And I'm definitely going to take it in. I'm taking it in. I'm receiving it. Believe that. But at the same time, I'm also going to be giving that too, because there's going to be people that come across in my life that I'm gonna be able to quote the educator's words to them, and that's going to make a difference. I'm going to be able to show them, like Rod said, that education is where it's at, where it needs to be, So like I said, I'm grateful. I don't think it needs to be changed. We just have to make sure that we stick to the plan. That's it.
All right. And again, what I'll say about this one, I'm glad that you guys like goal number 4, is if you think back, the 4 of us have met, what, 2 or 3 times?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's kind of like Mr. Miyagi, wax on, wax off. Hey, just seems like we're fellowshipping and breaking bread and talking about issues, but we actually are working on the goal, right?
Yeah.
Because now we've got a 4th, right? So we've already increased our numbers by, what's that, 33%
Mm-hmm.
from last week. So that's how that goes. We're almost right on track at 50. We would have been at 50 if the other brother had came. We would have been exactly at 50% this week. So we would have had a 50% growth from one week to the next. So we were actually on pace. So even when you don't know you're doing the work,
You're doing the work. Yeah.
All right. And the last goal here, this one needs to be modified. It's not on the screen yet. We are going to actually just de-emphasize incarceration, right? There are a lot of groups that advocate for the formerly incarcerated. Not saying that we're not going to advocate on those interests that exist, but there are a lot of people that focus on that. I was just having a conversation with a few leaders in the community the other day. Matter of fact, last night, deep into the morning, and I recommended they read the book "The Invisible Man" by Ralph Ellison. Don't know if you gentlemen have heard of that author in that book. If you have not, you should put it on the reading list. Also, yeah, there will be a reading book club.
There you go.
That we're going to be getting into. You know what I'm saying? There's a very disparaging thing that says if you want to hide something from a black person, put it in a book.
We do plenty of reading.
We are brothers that read here. So, yes, there will be a book club. And we will be reading and encouraging each other to gain knowledge by looking in the books and getting out of Chat GPT or Google or all these other things and getting to as close to the source as possible. Okay. But that said, my conversation is centered around those young men who didn't join the gang, those young men that didn't sell drugs, those young men that didn't become teenage fathers, those young men that just got up and went to school and played their sports or played their instruments, were, polite young men that just did what was expected of them, right? They're invisible. We don't uphold them, right? Those that are incarcerated, they get upheld. They come out, right? They have, folks that circle around them and say, hey, we need to advocate for these folks and do this and that. And yes, there's a place for that. And I do agree we should do those things. However, there are a lot of Black men that are here that are invisible, that are just here in the county, lost, no direction, and may find themselves joining a gang or selling drugs if they aren't acknowledged and taken care of. Those are the ones that did it right. Those are the ones that we really need to wrap our arms around. And I'm not even talking about those that are excelling, because those too also have folks and support that's in their corner, that have the full ride scholarships, either athletic or on academics, or they have family members that can get them into jobs and they're going to be good to go. But there's so many of us that are at the core that are invisible. And so our target is to them, to find their power. I think we all, I'm speaking for everyone here, and you guys can tell me if you disagree, but in our community, one of the places where we went wrong is we have put so much stock into our athletes, into our musicians, into all these famous folks, right? And we see what's going on with Puff Daddy right now in the news. And so heralding our artists instead of heralding our educators and our folks that actually positively build the community has steered us down a road, and you can see it. Matter of fact, Howard University just had to rescind their degree that they gave to P. Diddy, right? Well, if our priorities had been aligned from the start, that person never would have been elevated, right? Okay, you make some good music, that's great, but that's not what this is about, right? This is about strength in our community, in our people, in our families, in our spiritual walk with God. And we've gotten away from that. Those are the things that should be acknowledged and celebrated, not having the emphasis on that. So I just want to just say that in goal 5, we're de-emphasizing this because there are a lot of groups that are working on that. However, what we will be doing is advocating for our folks to take their rightful participation in the democratic process and granting them a meaningful voice in the decisions that affect their lives and communities. All right. And so again, I'll start with Samuel on this one. What do you think about that last modified goal there? I just had to explain it because you could see it in writing. So it's like, what? That's not what was on the on the screen.
Well, I believe when people really start to understand and realize that you're walking on the backs of ancestors, people who tore the land, just not year after year or decades, centuries upon that. I think people will find that voting is more important than really any other freedom you could have, because you're given a voice, an opportunity to be a part of that process. So that's what I think about that one.
All right. I was gonna go to Guyland. I'm gonna skip Guyland. I'm gonna go to
Wow.
let's go to the rod.
Wow.
I gotta shake it up.
I feel good that I'm not the whooping boy on this one today. So no, I like this goal. I think that many of our people don't understand the democratic process. I'm sure if you polled a lot of them, they won't know what electoral college is, the votes, anything of the democratic process and its nature. So beginning to educate them, showing them how the process works may begin to empower them a little bit more than just the same old tired thinking of my vote doesn't matter. And I could say that because that used to be me. I didn't want to vote. I was like, what's the point? I want to vote for this guy and he never wins, and so on and so forth. So it took me learning a little bit more and educating myself on it. And now I'm really advocating for that type of education for our people so we can get our voices heard.
All right. And nope. Guyland.
Sometimes I'm a pessimist. I think most of the time I try to be a strategist, though. I do. Um, I think number 5 is good the way it is. Um, all of them are actually going to take some work, but number 5 is going to have, I think, the most effect on our community. So,
Mm.
because like Rod said, I haven't been too big on voting for certain reasons, but I do need to jump back in um, and start voting again. Whether I think my goal will be to bring somebody in who have our morals instead of voting for who's already there. Uh, bring somebody in that can
Goal 1.
Yes.
bring somebody in, and if it's one of our brothers, then that's even better. Who can, because that way we can trust them to do the job right.
Right. Man, I like that. All right. And the designer.
Um, yes, I believe that what you were saying as far as those who are invisible, I believe that those are the ones who I want to reach out to the most because they're invisible. And I believe once we get to a point where we want everybody to be heard and seen, then the unity in the community of us uh, Black Americans will uh, increase, and we will, uh, light a fire. We're gonna light a spark, to let everybody know that we are here, just like generations before. There were sacrifices that need to be made, and I just feel that we're not willing to make those sacrifices, but we're here now to let everybody know that we are willing to make those sacrifices. But we also need your support. Without your support, to me, is what good is it? Just like I was telling the professor, somebody asked me, would you rather have the people or would you rather have the money? Me personally, I'd rather have the people, because isn't that who generates the money? If you don't have the people, you really can't have the money. The money gonna run out, but the people won't, because generation after generation after generation, it's gonna continue.
All right. I appreciate that. I think that was a very thorough uh, conversation about what the League of Black Male Voters is about, what our intent is, what our goals are. I think we wanted to be, I don't know if ambitious is the word. We want to be intentional, and we want to be purposeful, and we want to get started, are all those things. I will tell you one of the things that I say to my students is I'm not afraid to lose, right? Um, the only loss is really in not fighting in the first place. So I look at a loss as a win for me still, because there's so much that I can learn from it. But you can't learn anything from not trying, and so I'm willing to try and fail. And I look back at my life, at all the times that I took a chance and I stepped out on faith and dared to do something different, and then found success in it, or maybe found success or a different door opened through the failure of that attempt. Does that resonate with anyone in the room?
Yes.
Yeah, you and I were kind of talking about that earlier.
Yes.
All right. So what I want to do is there's a few Bible verses here that I believe encapsulate our conversation this evening. And I just wanted the men to take one of these verses and just discuss them. and just say what it means to them. We're not all going to talk about each verse. We're all just going to pick one and then go from it. So whoever goes first, has the greatest choice.
Well, I like 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 15.
All right, go for it.
It says, do your best to present yourself to God as one approved, a worker who does not need to be ashamed and who correctly handles the word of truth.
All right, speak on that.
Wow, that's my mission. Even with my own individual podcast, Guided Truth, that Bible verse right there pretty much is my goal, not just to put out the information, but if I can just do what God's want me to do, you don't have to be ashamed of anybody else, because God will always have your back regardless of what anybody else say. Or like you said, if you fail, it's just not your time to succeed. God will let you succeed when it's time to, when it has the most meaning and he gets all the glory.
Mm. All right, who wants to go next?
I would like to take Hebrews 4:12.
All right, go ahead.
For the word of God is alive and active, sharper than any double-edged sword. It penetrates even to dividing soul and spirit, joints and marrow. It judges the thoughts and attitudes of the heart.
And what does that mean to you?
Well, first off, Hebrews is one of my favorite books of the Bible, and this scripture is pretty self-explanatory. When God speaks, He means it. There's no misinterpreting. There's no leeway here and there. God's word is truly the word you must follow. This is a word that flows through everything. And with our league, it has to be our leading force. It has to be our guidance. It has to be everything. And it's the end all. Point blank, it's the end all.
All right. Who's next?
I'll take Colossians 3:17.
All right, go for it.
And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of the Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him. I believe when we take on what we're doing, we have to feel our cause is right. As Dr. King said, I know I'm in the right place. I know this is in my heart. It's, years ago, this is how the Black Panthers were disbanded. But I see it, we're here. If we, I'm losing track of what I'm wanting to say. If we do it in good deed and do it in good measure, we can't fail.
All right. And the designer got two to pick from.
Well, I'm not going to be different. So I am going to pick one, but I want it to be different.
Oh, you have one?
Yes, I have one that is.
We'll do this one and we'll. And
Okay.
Text it to me so I can put it up there.
Okay.
Okay.
Joshua 1:8.
Okay.
Keep this book of the law always on your lips. Meditate on it day and night so that you may be careful to do everything written in it. Then you will prosper in success. You will be prosperous and successful. Just like the educator said, that's my goal. That's my goal. It's with the not with the A. That's a woman's name. Andrea. This is Andre. This is Andre. But yeah, that's my goal, is to just to follow his word. I got lost because I didn't follow And like I was talking to the brothers before, I just asked for guidance that I could see through his vision, his footsteps, so I can go the correct way. And I know that once again, I got lost, but like he said, I am found. So that's my verse right there.
All right, now text me that one that you wanted to speak on. All right, and so the verse I was left with was John 5:14 through 15. This is the confidence we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything according to his will, he hears us. And if we know that he hears us, whatever we ask, we know that we have what we asked of him. To me, that means claiming the victory. You hear me all the time, and you've heard Andre saying faith without work is dead. And that is true. But faith is important, right? Faith, then the work. And so if confidence to me is synonymous with faith. So if I change this and said, this is the faith we have in approaching God, that if we ask anything in his accordance. And so we know that if we do the work, then we will be fruitful. That I believe. The question is are we willing to do the work? And I think what you're seeing here from the five of us, that we are willing, and that we are willing and going to do the work. And that work, at the end of this, it won't look like anything what's in our mind now, right? But God will steer us and move us forward as long as we stay close to him and in his word. And should we stray from that, then our goal is going to be off course. And so we have to make sure that we stay connected with that. And that's why it was important to kind of reflect on these verses based on what we're talking about, to make sure that we are tied in our values, right? So we can't just ask for the people that we want to run to have spiritual values if we're not exercising those ourselves. And to that end, just know we will have folks that will say, oh, well, you're a Christian, so how could you believe this, or how could you believe that? And what does that say about you? Like someone is like, oh, well, God is supposed to love, so why does he allow war, or kill people, or things like that? And there are really good Bible scholars that can answer those questions better than I can. But we believe, and that is the faith that we have, and that we are sinners, that we're always we're going to fall short of God's glory. Doesn't mean that because we believe in God and that we're Christians that we're not going to sin, that we're not going to do wrong. We are. We have to ask for forgiveness, and we have to try to do better, but we don't stand before you as perfect men, as perfect vessels that are just going to go forward and walk perfectly and speak perfectly. We're going to make a ton of mistakes, and people will try to destroy us based on the mistakes that we make. See, you said you were Christian. See, you said we're trying to do the best we can, but we will always fall short. But we are going to try, and we believe in faith, and we believe in the book, we believe in God. And so do you have that verse for?
Yes.
All right. And if you just, you can go ahead and read it. You know what that verse is, right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in God with all thy heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Acknowledge him in all ways, and he will direct your path. I believe that. I've seen it. That's why that's my favorite, because I've seen it throughout my whole life, is that he's been guiding me. And he's guided me to this organization, which is the best that he's ever done for me, I feel, because this is a new beginning to where I have brothers that will help me, encourage me, uplift me, point me in the correct direction, vice versa. So I trust in him. He directed my path to this organization, and I'm definitely grateful. Definitely grateful.
All right, thank you for that. And yeah, man, if it's on your heart, it's like I got one. I know we're doing this, but we just do an extra one, right? We ain't got no problem with doing that. All right, so now we're gonna have Samuel bring us a poem, and we'll also put in the description where you can find his book on Amazon. But go ahead, Samuel.
So this poem really doesn't have a title. I went back and forth on it a few times, but it says, "Let me take you to the Lord. He can heal that pain you feel. Put your life into his hands, and it's your faith he can build. We try so hard not to die. We're just too afraid to live. Please don't give up. It's your heart he wants to heal. Now turn to the Lord and pray that he reveal all the lessons and the pain and why your wounds just won't heal. Please know that he is the Lord. Lay down and be still. There's a time to tear down, and there's a time we're called to build. There's a time to scatter stones, and there's a time to gather them. There's a time for us to tear, and a time for us to mend. There's a time to keep, and a time to throw away. A time we're called to love, and a time we're called to hate. There's a time to be silent, a time for you to speak. A time to go to war, and a time to call for peace. But nothing beats a pair of old grandma's praying knees. I would always question God until I read Ecclesiastes 3. And the weight of all my sins knocked me down to my knees. There was no one else to call. I screamed out, Father, help me, please. Take this pain that I feel. It's my faith, Lord, you can build. I was trying hard not to die, but now I'm dying just to live. If you bring me back from the dead, I can do your work, I can do your will. I've been running all my life. Lord, you know just how I feel. Now I've prayed this prayer before, but Lord, this time I'm for real. I was born with a spirit of power. Lord, I really want to live. I put my faith into your hands. It's my faith that you can build. I'm running boldly to your throne to do your work and do your will. I've been baptized by my tears because in my heart, Lord, you healed. Thank you.
All right.
I'm good. Yeah, I like that. I like that. Thank you.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you.
indeed.
Thank you.
The book, Poem to Heal the Heart and Quiet the Mind, can be found on Amazon. I made the book really cost effective. I'm not trying to make any money on the book. I'm just trying to give people some words of encouragement as you go about your day. We're parenting our kids, working our jobs, that we give all the glory to the Lord.
All right. Thank you for that. And Guylan is going to pray us out.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for your grace and mercy. We thank you for allowing us to come to you this evening and just for the opportunity to let people know what we're trying to do. We pray that you just allow us to be consistent, be courageous, and just continue to do your will. And we know we'll be successful if you just continue to bless this organization and we'll uplift your name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen. All right. We do thank you for joining us for the first of many of these conversations. Please do like, share, and subscribe. That is the only way that we will get pushed out to the masses. And please share this, especially with foundational Black men, especially. There are a lot of us out here that are wandering in the wilderness and looking for a place where they feel like they belong. And for many, it's not the gangs, it's not the streets, and unfortunately, it's not many of the churches. And so we're doing the best we can, but we all need a home. And this is a home for those. So please send them forward. We are here in fellowship, and we have a good time fellowshipping. Ain't that right? We definitely ate good today.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Definitely thankful.
That's right. So, Rod always tells me he blesses the hands that prepare the food. and he means all hands. So, shout out to Kendra and Alicia and Leah, who else put their hands on their food. Guyland, all right. Junior, all right. And then even those that carry, right? Andre and Samuel and Guyland Senior and Rod, you did a good job eating the food. So there's that. Couldn't help myself.
Always. I ain't saying.
So say we all enjoyed it. But that's it, right? We dare to do something different. And that's it. So for the poet, for the educator, for the Rod, for the designer, I am the professor. This is the conduit. This is Foundational Black Americans, and this is the